Imagine this. It's 1764, in the remote, foggy mountains of France. Something has started hunting people. And it's not an animal driven by hunger. No, this is a monster that seems to kill for sport. A creature so terrifying, it brought an entire kingdom to its knees. This is the true story of the Beast of Gévaudan, one of history's most gruesome and to this day unsolved mysteries. So for 3 solid years, this thing wages a campaign of pure terror, claiming over 100 lives. So what was it? An impossibly large wolf? Some kind of demon from folklore? Or was it something far, far more sinister? That's the question that has haunted people for more than 250 years. The whole nightmare kicked off on a summer day. A 14-year-old girl, Jean Boulet, was just watching her flock near a forest when she was attacked. When the villagers finally found her, they knew, instantly, this was no ordinary wolf. The sheer brutality of it all, it was unlike anything they'd ever seen. A monster had come to their home. And Jean? She was only the first. Soon, the body count started to climb at this horrifying rate. We're talking over 100 victims, most of them women and children, just snatched from fields and pathways. The beast seemed to prey on the most vulnerable, turning the simple act of walking outside into a life-or-death gamble. The few people who survived told these impossible stories. They described a creature the size of a cow, with this fiery reddish fur, a massive chest, and a long, tufted tail, kind of like a lion's. But the one detail that truly terrified everyone, the one repeated over and over by those who lived to tell the tale, it had intelligent eyes. It didn't just see you, it watched you, it thought. And this is where the story takes a really twisted turn. Animals kill to eat, but the beast? It seemed to kill just for the sake of killing. Victims were often found decapitated, their bodies torn apart, but the creature had barely even fed on them. This wasn't predation, it was just cruelty. It's no wonder the terrified locals started whispering about werewolves and devils. Well, word of this monster eventually gets all the way to the glittering palace of Versailles in King Louis XV. A beast running wild in his kingdom, that was a national embarrassment. The King of France couldn't let this stand. He had to do something. So first, he sends his elite soldiers, the dragoons. They failed, humiliated. Then he sends his own legendary wolf hunter, Francois Antoine. And for a minute, it seems like it worked. Antoine killed this gigantic wolf, was celebrated as a hero, and Paris rejoiced. The nightmare was over. Until 2 months later, when the attacks began all over again. The real beast was still out there. The king's best had completely failed. This thing wasn't just ferocious. It was brilliant. It had this almost supernatural cunning. Hundreds of soldiers would sweep an area, and it would just vanish. They'd set out poison, it wouldn't touch it. Sophisticated traps were completely ignored. It felt like it was always one step ahead, almost like it was toying with them. Okay, so the king's army failed, his expert hunters failed. It became terrifyingly clear to everyone that they weren't just fighting an animal. Let's really dig into why this was something else entirely. A normal wolf, it avoids humans. The beast actively hunted them in broad daylight. A wolf attacks the throat to kill its prey. The beast went for the head, often with enough force to literally decapitate its victims. And then there's the description. The massive size, the strange fur, that weird lion's tail. Everything about it just screamed that this was something unnatural. So, of course, the theories started flying. Was it a wolf-dog hybrid, maybe bred to be a perfect killer? An exotic animal, like a hyena that escaped from some nobleman's private zoo? But as the evidence piled up, a darker, more chilling possibility started to creep in. What if the monster wasn't really an animal at all? With the French crown totally defeated and the people of Gévaudan absolutely desperate, the stage was set for a local hero to emerge from the chaos. Or perhaps a local villain. Enter Jean Chastel, a strange and reclusive hunter with let's say, a questionable reputation. On that day in June, after 3 long years of hell, Chastel went into the woods with his gun. When he came back, he was dragging the corpse of a huge, bizarre-looking wolf. He claimed he had finally killed the beast. And the story of how he did it became an instant legend. People said Chastel had cast his own bullets from silver, blessed by a priest. They said that morning he sat in a clearing reading his prayer book when the beast appeared. It didn't attack. It just stood there and stared, almost mesmerized, allowing him to take the single, perfect shot that ended its reign. Now, here is the one undeniable fact in this entire saga. After Jean Chastel killed that wolf, the attacks stopped. Not for a week, not for a month. They stopped instantly, and they never, ever started again. It was over. So, case closed, right? Nope, not even close. Because Chastel's miraculous success didn't answer all the questions. In fact, it created new, much more disturbing ones, which leads us to the most chilling theory of them all. This is the human element theory. The idea that the beast's incredible intelligence wasn't animal cunning at all. It was human intelligence. The belief that this was a trained killer, an attack dog sent by a master, or that the killer was simply a man. I mean, think about it. Why was the creature smart enough to outwit an army? Why did it specifically target the most vulnerable victims? And here's the kicker. Jean Chastel, our so-called hero, was known to associate with a family suspected of being serial killers. And why was his wolf, the true beast, quickly buried instead of being sent to the king for proof? It almost feels like a cover-up, doesn't it? All of this leaves us with one final haunting question. For 3 years, France hunted a monster in the forest, a terrifying creature of fang and claw. But what if the evil they were fighting wasn't an animal? What if the true monster was walking among them all along?